All right, so guys, we are live at the Socks Hub at the Takrady Mall, and it's been an amazing game. Action from start to finish. Words cannot, describe the game unless I go to my guys. So Kofi is here, Percy is here. I have some few Chelsea fans, Liverpool fans. We'll be interacting with them how they saw the game. But Kofi, how did you see this game?
Well, I think that for people who watched the preview show that we posted earlier on the page, you'd realize that almost all of the predictions that we gave came to fruition in this particular game. It was a game where you saw two teams at the beginning stage of their various projects. I mean, there was no overriding dominant performance from any of the two teams. And the issues that we pointed out in that particular preview show were all at play in the third day. The issues were simple. The midfield of the two teams, the defense of Liverpool, they were all issues that came to play. And for me, I think that these two teams have a lot of work to do to catch up with the very best. In the past few years, the standard has been Manchester City. And if you watch City play against Burnley on Friday and you watch this game today, you realize that you think that the gap between City and the chasing pack is widening by the day because they have a set template. They play to a set template. They have the men to do certain jobs that Pep Guardiola once done in that particular team. So it's virtually something that we saw this afternoon, representing two teams who are the various formative stages of their various projects. And for me, there's still a lot of work to be done by the two coaches, i.e. Klopp and then Pochettino. They need to get their act right. I mean, we've seen some of the other rival teams in the APL. I saw Newcastle yesterday. I saw what Tonali did in that midfield. I've seen Brentford play. I've seen Brighton play. It is not going to be an easy league. And if these two teams want to be in the shout for who ends up annexing the Premier League trophy at the end of the season, I think that they need to put in the man hours.
Percy, Kofi has, spoken extensively about what he saw, regarding this game. I don't know what you saw, but let's look at Chelsea. What's your overall verdict of this Chelsea team after this first game?
If you could remember when we started, I told you that, or when you in the course of the game, I told you that this match actually will highlight the loopholes in both teams. Since we are doing Chelsea, I will do Chelsea into retrospect. You realize that it showed that indeed Chelsea need a player like Moises Caicedo, because with the midfield moving the ball forward and passing the ball around, Enzo Fernandez did a very good work. Conor Gallagher, yes, he tried his best, but you realize that when it comes to tackling a defensive midfield role, they still need that traditional defensive midfielder. Another thing you could also see was that a player like Raheem Sterling, it would be very difficult for him to guarantee a starting spot in this team, because the player that actually replaced him, talk of Mikhail Modric, with his on and off display last season, you realize that with a 10 minutes, he came in around the 80th minute. The 10 minutes and his display, for all the 80 minutes that Sterling was able to be in the game, he couldn't even match whatever Mikhail Modric actually produced. Another good thing you realize about this Chelsea team is Nicholas Jackson. His strength, his agility, his speed, he could hold that play. It could remind them of Diego Costa. Yes, it could remind them of a player like Diego Costa, of Didier Drogba. These two strikers have been the benchmark for Chelsea over the past few years. And it could tell you that this guy is a prospect. If the team or the supporters could rally behind this team. And another thing was the coaching factor. Because if you take this team, they relatively have a lower squad, a lower grade squad compared to last season. That is what Graham Potter and Lampard were with. And even Thomas Tuchel. But you could see the coach's imprint on this Chelsea team. So overall, you could see that the defense is solid. Thiago Silva could command the defense. Being an old-aged player, there were some runs he could even go with Darwin Núñez with his intelligence. And he combining with the other youngsters at the back. The midfield was solid. It just had to do with They just have to play for a while. The coach's imprint has to be on them, and they just need 1 or 2 additions. And I think Chelsea, a year or two, probably this season, they could even pull up a surprise.
Guys, I think it's too early for such a prediction. Percy is predicting that Chelsea could pull up a surprise. That is winning the ultimate. But I think that one thing that is evident in this Chelsea team is the work Mauricio Pochettino has done with this team within the shortest possible time. Like you said, it's evident, it's very clear. His imprint is on this team. His ability to work what he wants to see on the team and in the team, clearly you could see. And Chelsea were very direct, route one football, and he was playing to the strength of the team. Because I was surprised how he set this team up. Why would he go for a 3-5-1-1, literally 3-5-2 when they are in possession? It would change into a 5-3-2 when they lose possession, when you do not have really solid defenders. But then I realized that he's playing to the strength of the team. Chilwell, very, very good going forward. He knows the weaknesses of Robertson and Trent Alexander-Arnold. So he puts up, their captain, what's his name? Reece James. Solid going forward. So you could see that today we did not see so much of Trent Alexander-Arnold, what he does and does best by bumping forward, sending a lot of crosses because of the threat that these two, fullbacks pose. So he literally played to the strength of the team. We'll come to Liverpool. I have my Chelsea fans here. We'll speak to them. But what do you make of Pochettino's impact on this team?
Well, I think that anybody who has followed the career of Mauricio Pochettino, you realize that his teams are archetypical in the way they play. They are very sound defensively, they are very disciplined defensively, they are mean defensively, and they do not lose their concentration easily on the defensive end. And one thing that you need to also realize about Mauricio Pochettino is that he's a pragmatist. I mean, he doesn't necessarily set out to his team to play a 4-3-1-2 formation or a 4-3-3 formation all throughout all of the games throughout the season. What he does is that he analyzes the opponent critically. And I'm glad that you talked about tactics. I'm glad that you realize that over the years, the strength of Liverpool has been with their fullbacks. I mean, they have marauding fullbacks who like to join the attack. They like to create a lot of deep concentration in the midfield and wreak a lot of havoc going forward. What Mauricio Pochettino did was simple. Put Chilwell on the flank, put Reece James on the flank, and on any day, Reece James and Chilwell, they are as good going forward. So they nullify the threats that Alexander-Arnold and Robertson posed on either flanks. And what worked for them was that if you look at the match sharpness of the two teams, you'd realize that Chelsea looked a better team as compared to Liverpool, even though, yes, you acknowledge the fact that Pochettino has not been at post for too long a time, but Chelsea looked a more solid team. Chelsea looked a team that is seemingly going places. And I remember that in our preview, you talked about the fact that if you would give a percentage to which team would probably carry the day, you would align more with Liverpool. But on the evidence of what we saw tonight, you'd realize that Liverpool looked a bit jaded, more than Chelsea did. And for me, there is more work to be done by this Liverpool team. I have always believed in the abilities of Pochettino. I think that he's a top coach, top-notch coach. And if you look at the complexion of the Chelsea team at this material time, you look at the age of the Chelsea team, there is no better manager in the world to handle such a project than Mauricio Pochettino. And kudos to him, because listen, if you come up against this strike force and are able to limit them to just a goal, and then you are able to go home being the more dominant team, especially when Liverpool had the first goal, I think that he needs to take a lot of credit from this game. And on the evidence of what we have seen, they can only get better and better.
So, according to my guys, Chelsea can only get better and better. But there's a Chelsea fan here who will take his perspective, then we'll delve deep into the Liverpool team. I'm sure my guys have a lot to say about this Liverpool team. The Chelsea fans are excited. I don't know, but the game ended in a draw. But Big Boss, what's your name?
Kofi Yesu.
Kofi Owusu, you're a Chelsea fan. Oh, okay. Join me here. As in, deep. Look into the camera for us. This is Sports 101. But first, have you subscribed to our channel? Okay. After that, I'm sure he will subscribe. What do you make of your team? What was your general impression of the Chelsea team?
Actually, I was very impressed with the game. Looking at a team like Liverpool with this high quality in terms of attack and seeing the game Chelsea played today, it was a great game. I think you could see from the start that Chelsea were very direct. They dominated possession. They dominated in the center of the pitch. All departments of the field, Chelsea were up and they played so well. I think it's early days yet, but I can still take Chelsea to win the Premier League title.
Hey, Chelsea fans. So he's gone for a bold prediction. Early days yet, but he says he tips Chelsea to lift the Premier League title. If they're going to do it, a lot of things would be, on the shoulders of Pochettino. What do you make of Pochettino's first outing with Chelsea this afternoon?
Actually, I've been monitoring the team for quite a while, from pre-season till now, and you could see that Pochettino has actually made a great impact. Just as I said, it's early days yet, but you could see the focus and the concentrated team. Compared to last season, Chelsea were a bit rugged, but this particular season, you could see how they were direct tactically. You could see from the game that there is an itinerary for the day, and from the way they played, you could see that Chelsea will have a great season. And Pochettino as a coach, we all know what he did at Tottenham, and in PSG it wasn't so good, but with Chelsea and this young team, I think he's going to do well.
Your team is after Caicedo and Lavia, literally, bulldozing Liverpool out of those deals. Do you really think that these two guys, when they come, they would make an impact or they would change a lot in this Chelsea team? Do you need them?
Oh, clearly, in today's game, you could see we were missing that Caicedo effect. Caicedo deal is almost done. I think it's a done deal. But with Lavia, having Caicedo, Enzo Fernandez, and Conor Gallagher, I don't think it's very necessary we're going for Lavia. We have the likes of Reece James, who can chip in as a number 6 anytime for Malo Gusto to move on the right flank. So I think when we have Caicedo joining this team, Chelsea will be much stronger. That will give Enzo Fernandez the impetus to go forward, higher forward. Then we will see some glimpses of good attacking.
Wait, before you go, we're going to do ratings. So the new guys in Nicholas Jackson, Disasi, who else? The Chelsea new guys. You know them. Let's rate them. Even the goalkeeper Sanchez. Based on what you saw, how will you rate these guys? Nicholas Jackson.
How am I rating them? Over 10?
Over 10.
Over 10. I think Nicholas Jackson today wasn't that lethal in terms of attack, but he was very strong. His passes was good. Rating Nicholas Jackson today, I think I'll give him 7 over 10.
Sanchez, the goalkeeper.
Sanchez, 6 over 10.
Colwell, the right fullback.
9 over 10.
He was solid.
Solid. He literally made Salah so useless. Colwell did a great job. Salah was so useless in the game.
You see, this just
apart from that pass he gave for them to score that first goal, he was actually useless. He didn't play anything.
I like the confidence of Chelsea fans. For that one, you can't take it away from. Even when they are losing, they are still loud. Even when they are losing, they are still loud. But before you go, your final prediction at the end of the season, next year somewhere around May, where are you expecting Chelsea to land on the league table? Give us your top 4 prediction.
Okay, with this kind of team, I think we don't have these high expectations going into the season. But I promise you, Chelsea are going to surprise everybody in the EPL.
Would they be the top 4?
Sure, for sure. This team is likely to win the league, so top 4 is nothing to talk about.
All right, Kofi Yesu. Before you go, this is Sports 101. Percy, please ensure he subscribes before he leaves. But we'll be doing this more often, especially with the big games. The Chelsea's next big game is against. They'll play.
I think our next game will go away from home.
Yes, I'm talking about their next big game. They're either taking on an Arsenal or a City. We'll do it again. I'm sure we'll do it again at the Shocks app, and we'll probably see Kofi Yesu again. But Percy, make sure he subscribes to the channel. Kofi, Kofi,
I'll do that, don't worry.
they've waxed lyrical about Chelsea, but we've talked so much about Chelsea. Liverpool. Prior to the start of the season, we said so many things about Liverpool. I personally said, yes, Liverpool have their issues. They brought in McAllister, they brought in, Szoboszlai. They've tried to work on the team and, some of the weaknesses of the team. We spoke about the fact that, yes, the midfield was an issue. They need a DM. There was a reason why they were chasing a player like Lavia. Then we heard that they were in for Caicedo. Chelsea, for some reason, have found a way to, bulldozer their way through these deals and seem to be landing both Lavia and Caicedo. Today we saw the deficiencies in the middle. Trying to play McAllister as a 6 will not work because we said during the preview of the game that he's not a 6, he's an 8, and it takes a lot away from him. And you saw the goal literally came as a result of Chelsea having a field day playing through the middle. What do you make of this Liverpool team? A fair assessment of this Liverpool team?
Well, Liverpool have a Lamborghini forward. They have a Fiat midfield, and probably do have a Kia defense. I do not intend to make anybody laugh, but the truth of the matter is that you look at the front line of Liverpool, potentially world class, but there is no link between that midfield, that defense, and that attack. There is no link between the defense and the defensive midfield role. We've spoken time without number about the fact that if you look at Liverpool and today the deficiencies were clear. I was telling you when we were watching the game that, listen, this Chelsea midfield is not one of the best midfields you come up against in the course of the season. This is definitely a work in progress. And if you are struggling to live with this Chelsea midfield, potentially close your eyes and imagine playing against Rodri, playing against this City midfield. Kovacic, Kevin De Bruyne, Rodri, all of those players. Imagine, we saw Brighton yesterday. We've seen Newcastle play. We potentially could see Manchester United and their new look midfield. I think that, listen, for Liverpool, what brought them success in the early days of Klopp had to be that midfield. Henderson, Fabinho, and Wijnaldum, the genuine pressing, the working midfield, the workaholic midfield. But you look at this Liverpool team and you look at this Liverpool midfield, they are going seemingly for a different type of midfield. But there is still that lost entity in there, that entity that works hard when they are not in possession of the ball, that entity that seeks to cut the supply of the opponents and letting them have some level of protection to the defense. You realize that because there is that gaping hole in that midfield, there was a lot of pressure on the defense, and the first goal showed it. You understand? I think that I do not know what Liverpool are going to do now, because obviously Chelsea are seemingly bent on gazumping their way and landing both Lavia and Caicedo. I do not know who Liverpool are going to go for again, but it is urgent. And I think that the people who matter at Liverpool, the power brokers at Liverpool, the technical directors, the people who matter when it comes to the footballing side of issues, they need to go on the market, find an appropriate player who can fill that void in that midfield. It was all too apparent this afternoon, and I think that, listen, if you cannot live with this Chelsea midfield, you are definitely going to be in trouble. If you get dominated by a midfield axis of Gallagher and Enzo, then you are in big trouble. And I think that the reality is that Liverpool needs to reassess this team properly. Potentially, if they do not get the right feel in midfield, it could potentially be a wasted season.
Whoa, such a bold prediction from Kofi. If they do not get to sort the midfield out, get a proper DM, a proper number 6 who would shield the team, control the game when it matters the most, it will probably be or potentially be a failed season in Kofi's words. But Percy, the new guys in McAllister, Szoboszlai, what do you make of this? You spoke about them, and I think during the preview you said you are seeing a more attacking minded Jurgen Klopp than having a bit of a defensive minded Liverpool team. What do you make of the new players? Your assessment of the new players in this Liverpool team.
Now, if you watch the game critically well, you will realize that there is. If you watch the game critically well, you will get to know that the influx of these two players, without a defensive midfielder, will render Trent and Robertson very useless in attack. Because one thing that helped the Liverpool team was that the midfield was not an attacking midfield, it was a robust midfield that destroyed formations. That destroyed formations. So whenever they are on the attack, and Trent and Robertson go on the attack, you will get a player like Henderson or Fabinho or Wijnaldum dropping into the left back or the right back position so that it will cover up for them whenever there is a loose ball or a counter. But in this case, you realize that Trent could not go forward and Robertson could not go forward because they never had that cover in the shape of Jibojilai and McAllister. Even the tackles they went in, they had to get even a yellow card for it because they are no good tacklers. So, like Kofi said, the influx of a defensive midfielder, not necessarily Moises Caicedo, is very imperative. It is, in fact, it is a must. It is something that should be addressed as soon as possible because McAllister and Jibojilai will always leave the defense hanging. They will leave them hanging dry. And you could see that a player like Van Dijk, today he was avoiding a lot of tackles because one, he's returning from an ACL. Two, he doesn't have that explosiveness, that speed like he used to. So everything had to fall on Konate. And even a player like Nicolas Jackson could get the better half of Konate. Imagine you meet Haaland. Imagine you meet a player like Haaland. What are you going to do? Because he also has that strength and he even has that eye for goal, better than a player like Nicolas Jackson. So with this Liverpool team, the midfield is not set. There is no replacement. Curtis Jackson was just a +1 -1.
They do have budget check in their field.
That is a player that could only come to the scene to the ending of the season. We have to be serious here. That player slaughtered him because Liverpool just needed a quick fix. At this time, they need better replacement. Like you said, the season where they were high flying, they had Fabinho, they had a James Milner who could deputize, they had Oxlade-Chamberlain who could deputize. Now you take out Jibojilai, you take out McAllister, who comes in? No defensive midfielder. So this Liverpool team, like we said, a Lamborghini forward. The midfield could probably be a Toyota Vitz because it's very bad, very, very bad. There is no stability. There is no player to do the breaking of defense. So if you go against a midfield of Gallagher, Chukwuemeka, Enzo Fernandez, and you can't boss them around, like Kofi said, you go and meet De Bruyne, Kovacic, and Rodri. What are you going to do? So this Liverpool team should not even think of going for any forward. Caicedo, if they will have to add another 10 million, they better do. But now, I don't know which midfielder is available. So probably have to go neck and neck with Chelsea and maybe boss themselves around.
I don't know about the Caicedo deal because Fabrizio was reporting that it's not so much about the money that Liverpool offered. It's about his personal interest to want to play for Chelsea. Maybe what they could do is to secure, Lavia, the guy from Southampton. But then again, like we said, there are solid midfielders out there. If Eddie Howe could easily identify Tonali and plug him into this Newcastle team, and we know how good Tonali is for AC, we know how good he was for AC Milan, and what he's seemingly slotted in that Newcastle team. But Kofi, before we switch the discussion and talk about other games, we will assess the Newcastle team, look at the Arsenal team, what you saw yesterday. Probably we'll look at Chelsea, City. Then we'll talk a bit about Kane before we sign out. Darwin Núñez, he came on to replace Diego Jota. We saw him. I am of the view that I think he will come good this season. Percy spoke about the fact that every team that he's played for, the second season, he hits the ground running. You are of the view that if he's going to be good, he's going to be good from the start. Guys, don't forget, we are shooting from the Shocks Hub located in the Takoradi Mall. Amazing place to be. Just come around, have your drinks, your food. It's a beautiful place to be. But Kofi, Darwin Núñez, do you think that this is just, I mean, personally, I think that it's just one of those, for me, I see this game as a preseason game. Chelsea looks sharper because they played more competitive preseason games. But let's talk about Darwin Núñez. Do you think that he's going to come good this season?
Do you want me to be diplomatic or you want me to be blunt?
Objective and blunt.
Objective and blunt. That guy is not a footballer. No, let me be very honest with you. Nothing shows me at this material time that Darwin Núñez is coming to the party. That guy is not supposed to be playing. No. We saw Jackson today. You see a good player, you see a good player. Listen, you are a striker, you might probably not be hitting the target, but you should be getting the other things right. What is the one thing that Darwin Núñez does right? Falling down. That's the only thing that's right. And for me, if you have any high expectation for Darwin Núñez, please pipe it down. Because this doesn't look like a player. He doesn't look like a player who is come good. I'm sorry, but Liverpool signed this player for 100 million euros. He doesn't look like a 100 million euro player. Percy has spoken about the fact that he comes good in his second season. Nothing absolutely shows me. You came up against a 38-year-old, 39-year-old Thiago Silva. Look, go back and watch that game. Look at the pass that McAllister gave to Darwin Núñez. Darwin Núñez just smiled to the cameras and allowed Sanchez to catch the ball. This is not a player who I have huge expectations for. I think that Darwin Núñez, to be diplomatic, he could end up being another Lambert. He could end up being another Andy Carroll. And for me, I do not have any high expectations for Darwin Núñez.
So Kofi, has literally poured water on the fire that we've set around Darwin Núñez. He believes that he doesn't think that, I'm being diplomatic, he doesn't think that we are going to see Darwin Núñez get explosive in his second term with Liverpool. I am of a different opinion. I think that it's too early. Like I said, Chelsea looks sharp, one, because they played more competitive preseason games. They played Newcastle, they played Brighton, they played Fulham, they played Brentford, they played Dortmund. These are solid teams, so they will look sharper. Let's not forget, Liverpool were playing the likes of Darmstadt, they were playing these, and for me, it's still, this first game is still preseason. Teams are warming themselves, so let's not be too harsh on Darwin Núñez. But Percy, let's quickly switch the discussion and talk about Arsenal. You saw Arsenal yesterday come up against Arsenal played Nottingham Forest. They went away 2-1. For me, it was a very good game. I saw glimpses of, if Arteta gets this team going, they will be a solid team. Again, Saka, I think, is the guy that would make everything tick together with Odegaard. These guys were solid. What do you make of the Arsenal team that we saw yesterday against Nottingham Forest?
Now, just like you said, when we had our what do you call it, pre-game, that is preview, I said something that Arteta is doing something right other than what United did when they were second in 2018. One, none of the players who were key players or stakeholders in the team went out, and they were also able to buttress them with a few ones, that is to make up for whatever they had. They brought in Rice. Everybody thought Partey would be pushed out, but yesterday he tried out Pep's formation. He played, when the formation, I was like, why is Partey at the right back? But during the course of the game, you realized that it was actually a 3-back, 2 defensive midfielders, with Rice being the one who does the progression and Partey holding up play. Then he played 4 behind Nketiah. So the 4 were Odegaard, Kai Havertz. He put Kai Havertz, so they were double number 8. That is the position that he was playing when he was at Bayer Leverkusen. Then he brought a right winger, that is in Martinelli, then Saka, then Nketiah forward. In the beginning, there were a few issues, that is Partey slotting, but as the game progressed, you realize that Arsenal was able to play to the strength of almost everyone. But there are a few things that can't be addressed. That is some of the weaknesses. One is that they were able to get away with whatever happened yesterday because Nottingham does not really have that firepower. But if they come close to a team, let's say a City or let's say a United that has very good wingers, one thing I realized was that Ben White could not play the role that Kyle Walker plays in City. That is playing a centre back also as a right back. Because whenever Partey left, you couldn't get a player like Ben White slotting in back to make up for that defensive gap that is there. But overall, you realize that Partey was able to do the defensive work very well. And Rice showed the reason why he was really, really needed. If you talk about the attack, Martinelli showed the reason why last season was not just a fluke. If you check the assist he gave to Nketiah, it is a potential. It's not he don't. He did it.
He didn't mean it.
He did it.
He didn't mean it.
He did it. It is not about he meant it or he didn't mean it. He did it. And there were two potential goals of the season in one match. This Arsenal team is improving. But one thing that showed, just as it showed last time we talked about, is how they concede. This game should have gone, when they started, could have been 4-0 or 5-0. But there were a few, it was like they were okay with whatever that they were able to accomplish. That's mentality. So if they are able to kill teams based on their progression, I think it will be good for them. So this team, it's just the beginning though, but I'm expecting them to make progress because they address their issues early. They sent them to preseason. Kai Havertz came, Rice came, so they played to their strength. But still, I said to it that this does not mean Arsenal is winning the league, but at least for top four, I can guarantee them that.
So Percy believes that, or Percy thinks that Arsenal are not winning the league, but he feels they are guaranteed top 4 team. What I'm excited about is that I think that Arteta has his team. This is an imprint of his team. Everything that you saw Arsenal, you've seen Arsenal do in the last 2-3 seasons, it's an Arteta team. Yesterday we saw a 3-1-6 formation when they have possession of the ball. It would metamorphose to a 5-1-2-2. He did so many things in the game. I think he's trying to take from the playbook or copy from the playbook of Pep. Try to tinker with the team too much. But for me, I like what I saw. I was not so impressed with Kai Havertz. I keep asking that, what does this guy add to any team that managers for some reason seem to love about him? But a quick one before we move to probably a City. Your Newcastle, you were waxing lyrical about Newcastle. What do you make of the Arsenal team, Kofi?
Well, fairly okay. I mean, don't wax lyrical too much because this is Nottingham Forest. I mean, but I think that you can only beat what is put in front of you, and they did the job. They set out early, like Percy said, went out, got 2 goals. I expect Arsenal to put off opponents early. I mean, kill them off early before they even think of a renaissance. I think that the goal that Nketiah scored, the assist that Martinelli gave, you look at the influence of Odegaard, you look at the influence of Rice, you look at Partey and his playing at the right fullback position and potentially being an overload in the midfield. And I think that, yes, the season has begun, but what we saw yesterday was Arteta experimenting with his team against relatively easier opponents. And for me, I think it's a good thing because if you look at the best coaches in the world, they are coaches that are able to study the game, manage and switch tactics in the course of the game. And that's exactly what Arteta sought out to do yesterday. But I think that they put in a fantastic show. In the end, it was nervy. When Nottingham Forest had 1 goal back, it was a bit nervy for Arsenal, but they held on. I think that one of the other issues that we need to look at has to be the injury to Timber. Will it be long term? Because together with Saliba, they played very, very, very well. I think that. Yes, I think that you look at Timber, you look at where he's come from. He's come from Ajax. They are a team that understands defenders holding on to possession, building from the back. What Arsenal potentially do have in Timber is somebody who can link the defense and the midfield. They can build from the back, and I think that Saliba has always built on his performances last season. I am hoping that the injury to Timber wouldn't be too long term, but Arsenal showed glimpses of a team that is ready to challenge at the next level.
Add your take on Newcastle.
Well, Newcastle, I cannot speak less of what job Eddie Howe has done with this Newcastle team. The one thing that impresses me about Newcastle is their ability to spot exactly what they need for that team and to go onto the market, get that particular player that they need for that position. Listen, let's put all of this into conversation. Let's just remember that Newcastle are the richest club in England. They are one of the richest clubs in the world. They could go out there, get any player that they want. Yes, as long as they are fulfilling the requirements of the FFP, they could go out there, buy any player they want. But you look at what Eddie Howe and the technical team have been able to do with Newcastle. They have not been too overly overspending. They have gone out there, looked at the right talent, identified the right talent, and listen, yesterday I saw Tonali slot into that midfield of Newcastle. Absolutely majestic. I mean, people have spoken about him being the new Pelu. I think that he is quite distant from that particular label at this material time. But with what he did for Newcastle against a very, very good opponent in Aston Villa. Aston Villa were one of the teams that I thought that they could go out there. Yes, early days yet, but I think that they could be one of the teams that could potentially be the dark horses. But you look at what Newcastle, after they scored the first goal, Aston Villa pegged them back, and then they ran riot over Aston Villa. I think that they couldn't have sent a stronger signal than that. Listen, look at Isak. Isak goes back to the bench. There's Callum Wilson who comes into the team. You look at the depth that Newcastle do have. They do not have overly flamboyant players, but they have players who come into the team and then get the job done. Mightily impressed with Newcastle and the job that Eddie Howe has done with Newcastle.
Kofi is making me a believer. You know, I said Newcastle were going to be the dark horses. I don't think they would end up in the top four because I see teams like Chelsea, Liverpool, United. Obviously, there will be Arsenal, there will be City. They will be too strong for Newcastle to get in there. They also spoke about they getting distracted because of their European, competition. How are they going to juggle playing both in the Champions League as well as the league? But then you are making me a believer. But what I saw on Saturday, honestly, very, very, very impressive. They were sharp. They looked very, very sharp, and they tore Aston Villa to shreds. Newcastle looked good. Percy, the champions. We can't go without talking about the champions. But guys, if you are watching us, this is our sports roundup show. Today is a different, feel to it. We are coming your way live from the Shocks Hub in Takrady at the Takrady Mall. Shocks Hub, amazing place to be. Check out their bar. Get to their restaurant. They have a sports bar. Actually, they serve amazing meals. Get there. Order what you want to eat. Great food, great ambience. Enjoy yourself at the Shocks Hub. Enjoy yourself at the Shocks Hub. So, Percy, City. It wasn't your typical City performance. A friend of mine was telling me that this is how City always starts the league. They get into gear and they'll blow teams away, but they get the job done. As good as Burnley were, they ensure that yes, you can create chances, but when we get them, we'll bury them. What do you make of the entire City setup? And Erling Haaland, he kicks off 2 goals. What do you make of City?
I think with City, the least said about them, the better. And there is one thing that Haaland is trying to do. It doesn't look undoable, but it looks like far away. That is Messi's 91 goals in the season. He's left with 37 goals. And the way this guy is scoring, why are you saying he can't? So he's left with 37 goals. Now we have about 17 matches before Premier League ends. 17 matches. 17 matches. Remember last season he scored about a hat-trick of hat-tricks in 3 different seasons. And there is the what do you call it? Champions League 2. There's there is UEFA Super Cup plus the World Club Championship. If they will start earlier. So With Haaland, there's always the talk that when he gets to big matches, he doesn't score. But Ferguson will tell you, you win the league on the small teams. Let the big teams, you meet them, you draw, let them play a stalemate. So I think that Haaland is doing the job, what is supposed to be done. And City took off from where they ended last season. There's Mateo Kovacic. He is playing right in the team he has to be, because he loves to search forward. With Chelsea, he could hardly do that, because whenever he leaves, who covers for him? But in City, he has Stones, he has Rodri. And yesterday, he slotted in perfectly well. You couldn't even realize that there was no De Bruyne. So City, they were already deadly last season. They've added more to their team, and it makes it so difficult. You check the other teams. Now Chelsea is trying to find their gear. Liverpool, you don't know where they are. United, Arsenal is trying to pick the pieces together. And City have started well. It's deadly because they don't start well. But this time round, look at how they started. But you can't really say that as a result of this, it makes the league over. They are catching up with something that has never been done, winning the league 4 consecutive times. Even Alex Ferguson, for everything he did, the best he could do was 3. So it's a record that is ahead of them. They've already blown away the treble. They've done a centurion. So it's left with this.
And the unbeaten.
And for the unbeaten, I think it's in this era in this era we are, unbeaten is a very difficult thing to do. So going the season and winning 4 consecutive, I think would be something that I think it will cement his place as already is an all-time great. Of course, probably maybe only second to Ferguson, because now he's pushed the likes of Mourinho and the rest aside. So this City team, the least said about them, the better.
Bobby, we can't go without talking about Spurs-less Harry Kane. A lot of issues have popped up. I don't know if you saw the tweet. Is it Michael Owen or but is it Michael Owen? He actually tweeted that, and we are going to speak to that. I want you to actually start with that statement. This was a statement he made. Going to Bayern and winning the Bundesliga and winning trophies with them is not necessarily an achievement. He feels that Harry Kane should have stayed in England, not necessarily at Spurs, and broken that Alan Shearer record of the all-time Premier League goal-scoring Kane. Spurs, how do they move on after Kane? Then you chip in the Harry Kane bit. You think he should have stayed in England? Because honestly, I think that I would have preferred Kane in England, but I do not think that Daniel Levy would have sold to an English team. Let's look at Spurs without Harry Kane going forward. Then this statement made by it's not your man, the guy who played at right back, Gary Neville. He made that statement. Yeah.
Well, I think that you look at Harry Kane, great player. Sadly, he does not have any medal to show to his grandkids when he does walk away from the game. Listen, the game has become a lot more magnified in terms of what you win, what you don't win at this material time. I believe that moving to Bayern Munich was the right move for Harry Kane to make. Listen, Bayern Munich are not just hell-bent on winning the Bundesliga or the DFB Pokal. Bayern Munich are buying Harry Kane because they want to relive the moment where they were dominant with somebody like Robert Lewandowski. And Harry Kane at 30, one of the most lethal strikers in the world. You look at Harry Kane, even in this Tottenham team, had 30 goals in the league last season. And so, listen, moving to Bayern, I think it's a new challenge for Harry Kane. It's a new challenge for Bayern Munich. Traditionally, the English have not been good travelers. You understand? You talk about only a few who have gone outside the shores of England and performed very well. You talked about McManaman. You talked about, to a large extent, David Beckham. You talk about people like Michael Owen, Kevin Keegan, and even these are people who do not travel well. And there is no better team to play in this world than Bayern Munich. I think that Bayern Munich, just like Real Madrid, overstepped the boundaries of Germany. They are not just concentrating on the affairs of Germany. They are looking at conquering beyond Germany. And for me, if this Bayern team with Harry Kane are able to win the Champions League, he puts his place in the pantheon of greats, because ordinarily, yes, you would want him to be chasing the all-time goal-scoring record by Alan Shearer, but I do not think that this is something that he needs to worry about. This is something that will not grant him sleep in the night. Harry Kane does not need to prove himself to anybody in the context of the EPL. Obviously, if he had stayed with Tottenham, he could have gone ahead to break that particular record. But listen, it is the right time to make that move, and I think that there is no better time at this material time to have made that move to Bayern Munich. Yesterday they had a ruthless beating by Leipzig. They were given a rude welcoming by Leipzig. But I think that what does he take away from Tottenham Hotspur? He potentially takes away 40 plus goals from Tottenham Hotspur when the season begins. Today we saw Richarlison. We saw all the things that Richarlison did. I am very positive. I am very optimistic that if Harry Kane was in this Tottenham team today, they would have easily beaten Brentford. Because you look at the chances that Richarlison missed, you look at the chances that Tottenham created and missed. Harry Kane, give him 4 of those chances, he would get 2 of them in the net. And so I think that we would very much miss Harry Kane. I, being a Manchester United fan, would have wished that Harry Kane would have sailed, and it shouldn't be an issue. Without Harry Kane, it shouldn't be an issue for Manchester United. I would have wished that he would have sailed and landed at Manchester United. He would have been a perfect fit for this Manchester United team. But I support every move that he has made. I think that he's paid his dues to the EPL, and it's the right time that he moved to the Bundesliga. And I see Harry Kane being one of the best strikers in the world. I mean, listen, for a long time I've told you that if you gave me Harry Kane, if you gave me Haaland, I'll pick Harry Kane over Haaland any day. Because for me, Harry Kane is everything that Haaland is not. Harry Kane is that player who does not just score goals. He's that player who gets involved in play. He's not two-dimensional. He's three-dimensional. He has an eye for a pass. He's that player who can get involved in play. He's not just interested in banging the goal. So Tottenham have sold for potentially over £100 million to Bayern Munich. And I think the Bayern Munich have a very good player in Harry Kane who is at the right age, at the peak of his career. And I expect them to do great things together.
So Kofi expects, Spurs, that's what will happen. The guy just left Spurs not long ago, so expect that, once in a while I might probably link him to Spurs. But Bayern Munich and Harry Kane is the perfect match, and match literally made in heaven. I know Percy would say he would pick Haaland over Harry Kane. That debate we had it some time ago. But guys, we are excited about today's shoot. We came your way live from the Shocks Hub, located in the Takrady Mall in Takrady. So anytime you are in Takrady and you pass by the mall, pass by Shocks Hub and enjoy an amazing experience with them. Percy, before we go, we have just about some 3 minutes to check out of here. Before you go, you've seen the major teams play, and I probably would ask this question to you guys, and I'll maybe myself. Are you going to rethink your top 4? Going to rethink your top 4 after seeing Chelsea Liverpool? I placed Liverpool in the top 4. I didn't place Chelsea in the top 4. I might just be tempted to revise my note. I'm saying I might, but are you going to change your top 4, or you're still sticking to your top 4? Give us your top 4 after the first round of games.
My top 4 in no particular order.
No, in order.
Okay, I said Manchester United will win the league, right? Yes, I said Manchester United will win the league. I should say it again. Let me say it again. I said Manchester United will win the league.
Okay, second.
Manchester City will be second. Arsenal will be third. Newcastle will be fourth.
So no Chelsea, no.
No. I don't know why you want to put Liverpool there. I told you this before the season started. Liverpool might even drop out of Europe if they don't fix their midfield issue.
We'll come back to this conversation. Kofi, we'll come back to it. Percy still believes that it's United, City, Arsenal, Newcastle. Are you changing your note? Are you revising your note?
Well, I think that the spirits have spoken. And I was telling my friends over there that Manchester United were going to win the league title this time around. I think that Percy, coming from where he comes from, the spirits have spoken. I think that my friends over there are excited. I think that it could be that dog fight between the Manchester teams. I think that it could be a big dog fight between Manchester City and Manchester United. I do not see Liverpool dropping into the top 4. There is no way in this world that Liverpool play in the top 4. I think that it could be Manchester United, it could be City, it could be Arsenal, and then it could potentially be Newcastle. I think that the Chelsea project has come too early at a time for Pochettino. If they're able to get consistent enough, they could probably sneak it ahead of Newcastle potentially. But my 3 established orders, Arsenal, Manchester United, Manchester City, and then Newcastle.
So Kofi, in a way, literally aligns with Percy. Those who have been following this channel knows that Percy's predictions last season, none of them, as in the major games, none of them was spot on. Maybe he will do a Darwin Nunes this season. His second season, he comes good. But for me, I don't think I'll revise my notes as well. I went for City first, Arsenal second. No, sorry. I went for Arsenal. Yes, Arsenal. We are winning the league. I went for Arsenal. I went for City. Then I said Liverpool are making the top 4. Chelsea are not making the top 4. Then I said Manchester United. Then the dark horse will be Newcastle. But guys, this has been our live transmission from the Shocks Hub. It's been exciting. You need to catch this train. We may just be coming your way at your favorite spot or your favorite end with these big games. Chelsea, Liverpool, Chelsea United, Chelsea City, United City. Watch out for Sports 101. And if you are new to the channel, make sure you subscribe to Sports 101. You like our videos. Follow us on all our social media platforms. Kofi, we'll see you guys again on Sunday. And we'll be previewing that United, Tottenham game. It may probably be the next big game that we'll be doing. But guys, thank you so much for joining us. Say good night.